อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภควาพุทธังภควันตังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตภควตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมมัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ Okay, good afternoon, my monks brother and all the Dhamma students who joined this session. How is everyone's doing? Today is 16th of April 2022. To me, every day is the same. Every day that we wake up as a Buddhist monk, we have to follow the monk's routine, right? We get up early, we go for the morning chanting, practice meditation and learning the Dhamma. So there are two main things. Consider the primary duty of a Buddhist monk, whether you are new or you ordained for quite some time. The first one is to understand, educate yourself, go back to the original teaching of the Buddha, which is kept in the Buddhist text, and that's one part. To learning the Dhamma, theoretical part. And the second duty is to put everything you learn into practice, especially meditation practice. So we study and then we meditate. We meditate and then we study. So two things. And there are two elements that consider the teaching of the Buddha, which is the Vinaya and the Dhamma. The Vinaya is the rules that laid down by the Buddha himself for the monk and the nuns back then. And the Dhamma is the teaching of the Buddha that kept in the Tipitaka. So we have touched on the concept of the Tipitaka, right? The Buddhist text, okay? The Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutta Pitaka, and the Abhidhamma Pitaka. What are the things that the new monk should know? So we have talked about several principles. How can monk purify their precept? How can monk meditate? And how can monk develop wisdom, which is called the Trisikha. Precept or morality, meditation, and wisdom. There are three important elements for anyone who joined this spiritual journey. In the past two sessions, we did cover the sutra called Maha Asapura Sutra, which is how the Buddha laid down the framework in full detail. 10 steps of how he trained the monks from day one until that monk realized Nibbana or free himself from suffering. And that's the broadest picture of how the monk should be trained according to the Buddhist text. And today we move on to another sutra. And this sutra also very useful for the new monks as well. So Sariratthadhamm Sutra from Anguttara Nikaya, 10.49, and that's the reference. This is a sutra that's not considered a long sutra. It's like one paragraph. Okay, it's very short, but it's very profound. There are, I believe, 3 sutra that has something similar to this particular sutra, which I will pinpoint in a moment. We'll start from here. Why should we study the Dhamma? Whether you are a monk or lay people, why should you study the Dhamma? What is the Dhamma? The Dhamma, in this case, is the teaching of the Buddha, right? The Buddha happened to be one of the teacher, well-known or highly venerated teacher back then, almost 2,600 years ago. Even nowadays, his teaching is still up to date. It worked in the past, it worked nowadays, it will be working in the future because his teaching is universal. Okay, it's universal truth. He discovered the truth of life and he understands the nature of life. And what he teaches is how to live life happier. If you're already happy, when you come to the teaching of the Buddha, you will be happier, or perhaps you can reach the highest state of happiness or Nibbana if you practice the teaching of the Buddha correctly and consistently. All right? So why should we study the Dhamma? That's the question you should ask yourself, right? Because nature of life is dukkha. Dukkha means oppressed, means worry, means concern, means anxieties. Every day that we wake up, and we have gone through life all day long, day, week, months, you may be noticing that, life is like up and down. It's like a roller coaster. Someday good, someday not good, someday okay, someday very sad, someday happy, someday happier. There are a lot of things happening in our life. and our minds get distracted by desire, okay, by thought, by anxiety, pretty much all the time, every moment. So if we don't know the nature of life, it's very difficult for us to live good life. So that's why when we study the Dhamma, it helps us to come back to understand the nature of life, of who we are, and how can we deal with unsatisfactoriness or oppression that happening on a daily basis. And that's the beauty of the teaching of the Buddha. All right, you don't have to be a monk to study the teaching of the Buddha. You can be a lay people. You don't have to be a Buddhist. It's just a pure body of knowledge that available for anybody who looking for the way to develop oneself to be a better person, a better husband, a better wife, a better kid, by utilize the teaching of the Buddha. And that's something you should keep in mind. The primary purpose why someone become a monk in the past, just one purpose, which is to free oneself from suffering, to free oneself from mental impurity, which is greed, hatred, and delusion. So this is the final goal. So I intentionally share with you the last picture instead of wait until the end. As we study the sutra together, you kind of keep in mind, why do I have to know this? Why I have to learn the teaching of the Buddha? Every single teaching of the Buddha, okay, if you practice correctly, it helps us to lessen suffering in life. Start from minor suffering all the way up to something major like miserable life, headache, stomach ache, heartbroken, illness, fatal illness, bankruptcy, okay, divorce, whatever it is. If you practice the Dhamma correctly, you can be, those suffering cannot harm you too much. You will be able to handle all the situation in life in a nice manner, in a calm and understanding manner. That is why study Dhamma is very important. And this is the final goal. As the Buddhist monk and the Buddhist lay people, we have heard about the word Nibbana. Okay, that's the ultimate goal of someone following the teaching of the Buddha, right? But up Nibbana may be too far. In general, we may think, oh, Nibbana is too far. I don't think I can realize it this lifetime, or I don't know how many lifetimes when I can realize Nibbana. But it's okay. At least that's mentioned by the Buddha himself in the Buddhist text. So we should keep that in mind. There is such a experience. It's such an experience where the human mind can be free from mental impurity and realize the state of Nibbana. So the ultimate goal of someone becoming a monk to get to that experience, and you must have that experience by yourself, ehipassiko. And the Buddha gives us the framework. We have talked about that. Okay, you following the precept, observe precept. You purify your mind through meditation practice, and then you develop wisdom, which is understand the nature of life, understand the nature of your mind, understand how the defilement work, and understand how to get rid of all those defilement or impurity in your mind. And then one day you will be free and you realize something called Nibbana. So this is the ultimate goal to keep in mind. So today, when we study this particular sutra, Sariratthadhamm Sutra, I like you to connect the dot back to the previous sutta that we learned. How can each sutra or each teaching of the Buddha that we learn help us to lessen our suffering, help us to lessen dukkha or unhappiness in our life? Or in other words, how can we apply the teaching of Buddha of the Buddha into practice so we can live life happier, to be a happy man, a happy person? That's the thing to keep in mind. So let's get to know the meaning first. Sarira mean what? Sarira is the body. Dhamma, what is the Dhamma means? This is the big word, right? When you ask someone what is the Dhamma mean, you hear all kind of definition. In this case, I like this definition. The phenomena or phenomenon. Dhamma is phenomenon, something that happening. So when we put this thing together, sariratthadhamm, that means something that happening in the body. It's a phenomena. If you from the medical background or scientist background, you may familiar with the term physiology. But physiology is purely science area that study the human nature. Okay, about the heart, the lung, okay, the area of the body and how it functions, the chemical in the body. That's the physiology. Sariratthadhamm Sutta is the sutta that talk about nature of life in a deeper dimension. So today let's take a look how deep of this particular teaching. How can it help us to free ourselves or lessen dukkha from our life? And before we go further, just in case you want to study by yourself, okay, the name of the sutra is called Sariratthadhamm Sutra from Anguttara Nikaya 10.49. And also today I like to also will share with you another sutra called Rokha Sutra from the same Anguttara Nikaya 4.157. Rokha Sutta and Sariratthadhamm Sutta. Even though we have a main focus on this particular sutra, but as the lecture goes along, if anything related to some other sutra, so I will somehow bring that information and present it to you, so you kind of be able to understand the Dhamma in a much broader dimension, and it help you to. It's more like a guideline when you study the sutra by yourself. One sutra is not enough to understand or see the whole picture of how the Buddha wants us to understand. Somehow, it takes time and experience, okay, to study the Sutta Pitaka and understand everything in one sutta. It's quite challenging. The essence of this sutra, why we should know about it. The nature of life is dukkha. When one have gone through life, so how can we lessen dukkha? Through the reflection on the nature of life. That's the picture you keep in mind, okay, as we listen to this particular sutra. This is the sutra that talk about the nature of human life, something that have been with us the day we born until the day we die. So what's interesting about this sutra? So when we talk about things that everyone should reflect it regularly, anything come to your mind when you hear reflect regularly? You have been a monk for 1 month by now. Is there anything come to your mind or you can think of when you hear the word something that we should reflect on a regular basis? That means often, the more the merrier. Not just one time, not just once a day, maybe a few times a day. Forget about once a week or once a month. That's not the way to practice something called regularly. Regularly means often as possible. And in the Buddhist text, I realized that there are 3 places that the Buddha mentioned something that monks should reflect regularly. To me, not just monks, I believe the lay people as well, they should practice or reflect on this, okay, regularly. But as a Buddhist monk, again, we study the teaching of the Buddha fully, right? That is why everything we learn, we must put into practice and reflect more often than the lay people. So there are 3 sutras that the Buddha mentioned of something that the monk should reflect or consider or contemplate very often. Sariratthadhamm Sutra is one of them, which is the sutra number 3. Okay, I will not cover 2 of these, but I will pinpoint to you. If you have this book, this is the book that I offer to you, right? So in this book, on page 37 and 39, you can go back and read later. On page 37 and 39, there are 2 sutras, Sutra number 1 and Sutra number 2, that the Buddha talk about something that you should reflect very often. To save your time, I prepared here on page 37, subject for regular reflection for woman, man, householder, or anyone who gone forth, okay, which is a monk. These 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we should reflect very often. Okay, I am subject to old age. I am not exempt from old age. I am subject to illness. I am not exempt from illness. I am subject to death. I am not exempt from death. I must be parted and separated from everyone and everything that I love, right? And I am the owner of my karma, okay, the heir of my karma. I have karma as my origin, as my relative, as my resort. I will be the heir of whatever karma, good or bad, that I do. So these are the 5 things. Okay, Long Pi will not explain this because we have talked about this already. I just want to pinpoint the importance of Sariratthadhamm Sutra, something that we should reflect often. So another thing is, this is 10 things that monks reflect on a daily basis, right? So on this page 39 on the white book, on this one, okay, something you reflect or you chant after the evening chanting, right? So these are 2 sutras already that Buddhist monk should realize, should contemplate every single day, more often. The more the merrier. But Sariratthadhamm Sutra is different. All of this is like a situation, okay, situation or phenomena, thing that happen in life. We born, we getting old, we getting ill, we die. That's understandable. It's the phenomena that happening. But Sariratthadhamma Sutra talk about something much closer than that. It actually, all of these just actually, they are actually happening in the body. The moment we born until the day we die. But let's take a look how the sutra look like. The Buddha said, Bhikkhu mean monk. These 10 things exist because of the body. They should be often reflected. 10 things. What are the 10 things? Number 1, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, excreting or defecating, and urinating. 6 already. What is number 7? Restraint in the body, restraint of speech, restraint in livelihood. And number 10, the Dhamma that leads to future life. These 10 things exist because of the body and should often be reflected. Sariratthadhamm Sutra. That's it. The sutra is very short. How much do you understand so far if you study by yourself? That's all. We finished one sutra already in less than 5 minutes. Ordinary people like us, we don't have the same level of wisdom as the Buddha himself. His wisdom comes from seeing. When he sees, he understands. For us, we don't see anything. We see things through the physical eye. We don't have the inner eye to see and understand the true nature of life as he did. So we cannot take his teaching lightly. So Luang Pi will come back to this in a moment. But before that, let's start from here. When we talk about reflection, I'd like you to keep in mind of these 4 things. Why should we reflect on something? There must be a reason, right? So number 1, we reflect, then we can be patient. We reflect to understand it, so we can be patient. Like heat, cold, it's hot, it's we hungry, we thirsty. If we easily to give up because of those environment conditions, those tough conditions, then we cannot be success in anything. So we reflect on this. As a Buddhist monk, we eat 2 meals a day. We eat 2 meals a day. We're not allowed to eat food after lunch. So if you don't prepare yourself well, you don't have enough lunch. In the evening or the afternoon, if you have to do something in the field, we work hard underneath the sun, so you may get hungry in the afternoon or in the evening. And when that happens, no matter how much hungry you are, you're not allowed to eat food. Then you have to be patient until the next morning, until the next breakfast, then you can eat food again. So no matter what happens in front of you, the condition, the weather, the sickness, the people, the environments. So we shouldn't be complaining about anything. We just have to focus on whatever we need to be doing. Be patient with the environments, with the weather, heat, cold, hungry, thirst, something that you don't like. We have to be patient. And another kind of reflection is called we reflect before we consume it. Before we consume it, like food, clothes, shelter, and medicines, anything that you need to use it, we reflect before we use it. Every necessities. Why do we wearing robes? How many robes we allowed to have? Why do we eat food? Where do we get food? And how much food should we eat? That's something we should reflect, right? And that is why the Buddhist monk, we chant before we eat, right? Yatha patayang pavattamanang thatu mattame vetang yatithang pinda pato. This is what the monk chant. Chanting means reflection on the food in front of us. Where the food come from, why we eat this food, what the benefit of eating this food. So it helps us to be mindful. Once we understand clearly, we reflect clearly, then we use that. We use clothes, we use robe, we eat food. This is the second kind of reflection. The third one is we reflect to avoid unwholesome action. When someone says something bad to you, you reflect on that mindfully. Then you can take action properly. As a monk, we're not supposed to yell back to anyone. We're not supposed to show emotion, angry at someone. We should remain calm, understand, and behave properly, politely. That's the nice manner of a good Buddhist monk, of a good Buddhist lay people, to be mindful. So we reflect to avoid. Should you eat dinner because you're hungry? If you're a monk or novice, you're not allowed. You reflect on that and then forget about it. Be patient. Avoid say something bad, avoid doing something bad, avoid harming yourself and avoid harming others. And that's something you should reflect on. And the last kind of reflection is we reflect to abandon unwholesome thought and habits. When the alarm clock ring in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, you should wake up go brush your teeth, get dressed, and go to the chanting, go for morning chanting and meditation, right? And that's what you should do. And you may be feeling that, well, today it's still too early, maybe I can skip morning chanting and morning meditation for one session. It should be okay. That thought may, come up from time to time, right? So our job is to reflect on that thought. Is it wholesome thought or unwholesome thought? What should you do with it? Should you go to the meditation room or should you go back to bed? So you abandon, unwholesome thought. You abandon unwholesome habits. These are the 4 things that you keep in mind when you hear the word reflection, okay? All right. And this is the sutra called Rokha Sutra. I like to mention here to emphasize, the reflection on be patient. We must reflect why we should be patient. This is what the Buddha teach the monk. A bhikkhu, monks, you should endure. This is the key word. Endure with what? With heat, cold, hungry, thirst, touch of flying, mosquito, wind, sun, reptile. He should endure, with what? With rude and unwelcome criticism. He also should put up with physical pain, sharp, severe, acute, unpleasant, disagreeable, and life-threatening situation. And that is how he should train himself. Being a good monk, it's not easy. Living life as a monk is simple life, but simple life doesn't mean it's easy life. It is quite difficult. The monk needs to be trained himself, not only physically. He needs to prepare physically, mentally, and spiritually. In this particular sutra, again, it's a very short sutra, but the Buddha gave us a very deep meaning behind this teaching for the monk to be very patient, to be calm, to remain calm. Don't complain. Stop complaining. Stop asking or demanding. Just be patient. Your job is to know, understanding the nature of your mind when you are encountering with something you don't like and something that you like. Okay, not just something you don't like, something you like as well. Desire always in our mind, and we usually go after something we want, right, and run away from something we don't want, and that is called tanha or craving that we learn from the second noble truth. Okay, so here you see we have to be patient, have to endure. Today is hot, no air conditioning. When you go to the meditation room, you're supposed to have the afternoon session. You may say, oh, Long Pi, today no air conditioning. Maybe we should, postpone the class. Today no lecture, today no meditation. Why? Because it's no electricity. So we come up with a reason for us to quit meditating, not to go to the lecture, not to go to the class because of the condition. Oh, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too early, it's still, just finished lunch. Just keep on complaining. So as a good monk, we should cultivate different kind of attitude, a wholesome attitude towards situation that you don't like. All right? Okay. So this is the human nature of human body. Human being, we have body and we have the mind, right? And the teaching of the Buddha talk about the nature of life is dukkha. Okay, dukkha caused by or tanha. Question is, where are these tanha came to our life? Where dukkha came to our life? Are they falling off from the sky, those cravings, and all of a sudden fall into our head, and it causes us suffering, causes us dukkha? The Buddha discovered something very deep and very profound inside his own body and mind. Not from the library, not from the trees, not from the stone, but when he sit cross-legged, meditate, he realized something inside his mind. So dukkha comes from this physical body and this mind. It doesn't come from the environment. So if you understand this clearly, then you can find a way to deal with it. You need to understand the nature of your life, the nature of your body, and the nature of your mind. Then you can lessen dukkha that may appear in your life on a daily basis. This is very profound to me though. As we were born, right, we encounter all of this. Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, go to the toilet, defecate, urinate. We have been doing this the day we born until now and until the day we die. but we pay no attention of why we have to do this. Why you have to go to toilet often. Why we have to eat. Not just, of course, we have to survive, right? Is there anything beyond that? Eating, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, go to toilet. This is something that we never pay attention. But the Buddha or Prince Siddhartha, he was very smart young man who has a very keen sense of observation. He observed his own nature of life. Because when this thing take control of our life, it come with defilement. When you get cold, we need to find clothes. When we heat, we need to turn on air conditioning or remove the clothes. When we hunger, we go find food. When we thirsty, we go find something to drink. And then we go to the toilet. Every single activity come with defilement if we are not mindful in consuming them, in acquiring them. We'll get to that in a moment. Again, this is the big picture of the four suffering to make it easier for you to understand where we are heading in this particular lecture. The first kind of suffering is called physical suffering. Physical suffering means what? Suffering comes from the physical body, right? If you sit underneath the sun, you overheat yourself. Okay, your body cannot stand. You overheated. You are unhappy. Okay, when it's cold and you don't have enough clothes, again, you feel cold, then you may get sick. When you're hungry and there is no food, not enough food, again, you can get sickness. Thirsty, okay, no water. We cannot live without water, right? There's something that the body needs: food, water, air, and clothes. This is the necessity. And then after that, we also have to go to the toilet for defecating, for urinating. And this is physical suffering that not many people realize of, the nature of this physical body. This is something we have to take care every single day. The day we born until the day we die. We have to eat, we have to drink, we have to get rest, we have to go back to sleep, we have to work, we have to go find food again next day. Go back to bed, wake up, go to do the same thing again. Eat, get dressed, go to work, go to toilet. Same thing over and over. And if this thing you don't pay attention, something that you do repeatedly every single day, and that thing is called habit. It's called habit. And when it's become habit, it become an autopilot. That means you will become the person, whatever it is, automatically. Some people wake up late, some people wake up on time, some people wake up early. Okay, as a Buddhist monk, we go to bed around 10, we wake up around 4:30, right? And that's the daily structure. It helps us to cultivate good habit of going to bed on time and wake up on time. We go to the chanting on time, we go for breakfast on time. Sometimes we pretty much, sometimes we go to the toilet on time as well. If you notice that, you see the benefit of this. And it helps us to lessen physical suffering. If when time to go to bed, you don't go to bed. When time that people wake up, you don't want to wake up because you have enough sleeping time. Then you don't want to wake up. You become a lazy person for some reason. And that cause your body, turbulence, unhappiness. When it's time to eat, you don't go to eat. When it's time to go to toilet, you don't go toilet. You kind of hold it. I'm just going to finish this work first. I'm going to sit here another 1 hour and then go to toilet. It's not a good habit at all. And that causes us physical suffering. It causes illness. And it causes bad habits when you're not mindful of your physical body. And that's number one, physical suffering. And the second suffering is called social suffering because we are not alone, right? We live with people. We live with many monks. We live with someone in the family, fathers, mothers, husband and wife and children. We have friends and we have relatives. We have people at work, people at school. So we're dealing with many people in our life. So if we don't have a certain standard, rules or regulation, then wherever we go, and that can cause us suffering or problem or conflict. If you're not mindful or not restrained in physical and verbal, it's cause problem in the society. Now we talk about precept. We talk about rules, right? Sometimes we can think of the law, okay? The law is a structure for everyone to follow to maintain the peacefulness of the society. In the monks world or the Sangha, we also have Vinaya, right? Something we follow. Okay, you may heard about 227 precepts and the manners. These are something that the monk follow. For the lay people, they observe 5 precepts, sometimes 8 precepts. So it helps us to lessen suffering in the society. If everyone observe just 5 precepts, avoid killing, avoid stealing, avoid sexual misconduct, avoid false speech, and avoid intoxicant. Just observe these 5 universal morality. Imagine how the world or everyone in the world can live together in peace. Just 5 things. If you look at the newspaper, thing that happening nowadays, people breaking precept. That is why there are many social issue, problem in the society at the moment. People kill people, people steal something from people, right? Sexual misconduct, right? People telling a lie and intoxicant themselves. These cause a lot of social destruction. If you are a lawmaker, maybe you can incorporate the teaching of the Buddha that you learn into the law. Make the rule for the society, then people can live together in peace and harmony. It helps lessen social suffering. And the third kind of suffering is called economical suffering, right? Suffering that comes from making a long living or career. Not restraint in livelihood. It causes economic and environmental problem. There are, global issue, a lot of things. Environmental issue like global warming, the garbage, the pandemics of the COVID-19. As you can see, there are many things that cause us economical suffering because of the career that we work. People's they are the career that is legal but is unethical, like gambling or selling alcohol and drug, slaughtering. There are many things that mention selling weapon, things like that. So it's maybe legal in a way, but it's 100% unethical. And these cause suffering in the society, cause suffering to environments and to our economic system, right? So think about it. And the last one, the third kind of suffering is suffering from defilement. So all of us, we fall into this category because we still not achieve arahantship. Our mind is still full with defilement, right? With greed, hatred, and delusion. So it causes all kind of suffering because it causes the mind to be crowded. And when the mind is crowded, it cannot make a clear or better decision. That's, just keep it simple. So we are unable to resist the power of tanha or craving. We know we're supposed to go to the morning chanting after we wake up and go meditate, go study Dhamma. We know it's a good thing. Somehow we don't want to do it. You see how craving or defilement take control your behavior. We don't want to do it, even though it's good. Meditation 3 hours a day is good. Practice the chanting is good. Study the Dhamma is good. But I'll do it later. It's a craving or tanha. So these are the 4 major suffering that we can relate it to. Now we will zoom into the sutra. Bhikkhu, these 10 things exist because of the body, because of this body. These 10 things exist in our body, the day we born until the day we die. And 10 of these, everyone should reflect on them regularly. Often. The Buddha also, he suggests all the monks to reflect on this regularly. So that means if anything the Buddha suggests us to reflect often, that means that thing is important, very important. But as you read, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, excreting, and urinating, this seems to be very mundane activity, nothing special at all, right? We know that and we done that. Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, go to toilet. This is very super mundane, super normal. And why should we reflect on this? So you have to think deeper. Why the Buddha want us to think about this deeper every day? So that means this thing has something to do with our well-being as a whole. Dukkha or suffering, vs. Against happiness or sukha. If we understand this, then it helps lessen dukkha in our life. It helps increase happiness into our life if we understand what the Buddha wants us to reflect and why he wants us to reflect on this super mundane thing like this. Okay, if you ask the doctor why this phenomena happen, okay, why we feel cold, why we feel heat, why we feel hunger, why we feel thirsty, and why we have to go to the toilet. And this may be the answer from the doctor, from scientific world. It is said about 300 million cells die every day. Not every day, every minute in our body. Every single minute, 300 million cells dying. Imagine, it's not one cell. We're talking about 300 million cells die every 1 minute. So altogether, okay, in one day, it's about 50 billion cells die in the body. And that is why we feel cold, we feel heat, we feel hunger, and we feel thirst. Every 6 hours, we're hungry again. When we eat breakfast, okay, after that, another 5 hours, 6 hours, we're hungry again. We eat lunch. And after that, 6 p.m., 6 hours later, we get hungry again. And during the day, we feel thirsty. So we have to drink. And then we have to eat. And then we have to go to toilet. You see? And the answer is because the cell dying every day, 50 billion cells die. Okay, 300 million cells die every 1 minute. It die and it get replaced with the new cell. So there's some transformation process that happening in the body. It's the renewal body, okay, of the new cell and the old cell, just to replace each other. The nail, the hair, the skin that we have at the moment, they are not the same cell last month, last year. Those cells have been gone a long time ago. Now we have a new cell. Okay, a new nail, new hair, new skin. Next month, again, we get a new cell again because this cell will be die. It die every 1 minute. And that is why we feel heat, we feel cold, we get hungry, and we get thirsty. We have to input the new element into our life. So I mentioned the new key term to you is called element. Okay, or dhatu. Dhatu or that in Pali, elements. Element, you think of what? Earth element, wind element, fire element, and water element. Still remember when we ordain in front of the preceptor give you the object of meditation. He said, Kesa, Loma, Nakha, Thanta, Tacho. Tacho, Thanta, Nakha, Loma, Kesa. Still remember? So it's a requirement for the preceptor to teach the new monk how to meditate. Kesa is the body hair. Loma is Kesa is the head hair, this hair. Loma is the body hair, right? We have hair in the body, eyebrow, the skin. Okay. Nakha is nail, right? Kesa, Loma, Nakha is nail. Thanta is teeth, right? And Tacho is skin. So these are the elements in the body that get deteriorated, okay, along the way as we grow up. The cell die and the new cell replace themselves. So we born, we die, we born, we die every single moment. Everything right and fall every single moment. So if someone asks the Buddha, why this thing happened to me? Why I feel cold, why I feel heat, why I feel hungry, why I feel thirsty, why I have to, urinate, why I have to defecate. And this is the answer from the Buddha. He would say something like this. Because the element in our body, all of them, they are impure. What impure? The earth element, something solid, right? Teeth, nail, bones. The fire elements, the temperature. The wind elements, okay, wind in the body, the breath. And water element, liquid in the body. These four elements, they are impure. And that's cause us suffering, oppression. When you hear the word dukkha, it's not just headache, stomach ache. Dukkha come with the deeper sense than that. You think of something oppressed, something unsatisfactoriness, something that unsustainable. It cannot remain in the same condition forever. We cannot tell the body to remain young, remain healthy forever. We can't. It's every 1 minute, 300 cells dying. It dies because it cannot stay the same. It has to replace itself every 1 minute. 300 million cells die, another 300 million cells get created. So every 1 minute, you see, this is very oppression. This is very unsustainable. It's the nature of life. The Buddha sees something deeper than, the scientific people see. Because the element in the body, because they are impure, that's why we feel cold, we feel heat, we feel hungry, and we feel thirsty. We need to input the new element into our life, okay, from time to time during the day. We drink the moment we wake up, okay, and 7 o'clock we have breakfast, 11 o'clock we have lunch, 6 p.m., okay, most people have dinner. Some people have late night, okay, dinner, 11 or midnight. So we eat many times to input the new element into the body. Otherwise, the body cannot survive. So we need food, we need liquid, we need something solid. This is in the eyes of the Buddha, because this physical or conditioning 5 aggregate, they are impure. They composed with impure element. That is why we are suffering. Okay? We cannot stay the same as we wanted to. Okay? And how do we deal with this? Just to recap, right? We have body and we have mind. The body composed with 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and wind, right? And sometimes if you study from different books, you may come across the word air. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So air and wind is similar, right? Air is the space. Wind is the air that moves. So basically, they're slightly different. They're not exactly the same. So we have the space in the body. So that space is called air. But when we breathe, okay, this breathing is the air that moves. This is called wind element. Okay. So anyway, all of this make us is the constitution of the physical body of human. Okay, earth, water, fire, and wind, and air. What about the mind? It's another element of human being. We don't see it. The body, we can see it, right? How tall, how short, okay, fat or skinny, we know, we can see. But the mind, we don't see. However, according to the teaching of the Buddha, right, we get to know the nature of our mind, human mind. The mind can feel, the mind can perceive, the mind can think, and the mind can know. We did talk about this on the subject of the 5 aggregate. So please go back and study again if you miss some information or if you want to relearn. Okay, on the subject of the 5 aggregate, we did explain the human nature in detail according to the Buddhist text. What are the 5 aggregate, right? Body, this is body, and this is mind. Form, feeling, perception, thinking, and consciousness. This is the nature of human being. And come back to the sutra again. This is how the Buddha sees it and why we should reflect on them. Because all of this is, if we apply this to the concept of the Four Noble Truths, this is called dukkha. Dukkha satcha, the noble truth of suffering. Or the noble truth of suffering means this is the nature of suffering. The noble truth means it's unchangeable truth. It causes us suffering because it's oppressed. It's unsustainable. It cannot remain the same the day we born until the day we die. Every single breath that we take, the million cells in the body die, and then another million cells in the body get created. So we cannot remain the same. So 100 years from now, none of us here, we are gone somewhere. Basically, we dead, right? So the body will not last long. Eventually, it will break apart. We get cold, we get heat, we get hungry, we get thirsty, we have to defecate, we have to urinate, because it's in the condition of unsatisfactoriness or oppression every single moment. This is the nature of physical body. Sarira, right? Sarira mean what? Sarira mean body, right? And Dhamma, again, mean what? Phenomena. So the phenomena of the human body, these are the phenomena of human body. Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, defecate and urinate. So reflect on this deeper. And if you want to lessen your suffering, because no matter what, these things going to be happening. Heat, cold, hungry, thirsty, every day. It's going to be happening every single day that we wake up. So we need to find a way to deal with this so we can somehow lessen the dukkha or suffering in our life. the Buddha introduced another 4 items in this sutra. And this one I call is dukkha samudaya sajja, which means the cause of suffering. If we understand them well and then we practice them properly, we can live life happier and longer. So restraint of the body, restraint of speech, and restraint in livelihood. This one interesting. Restraint of the body, restraint of speech, and restraint of livelihood. I don't know what comes to your mind after we hear these 3 terms, body, speech, and livelihood. We did talk about this earlier. Think about it for a moment. Okay. And then number 10, the Buddha talked about something else. He talked about Dhamma that leads to future life. Dhamma that leads to future life. What is this? That's it. That's the sutra. Our job is to decode the meaning of each sentence that we read. We cannot take it lightly. Oh, I understand. Oh, I understand. No, that's too easy. You have to step back and reflect on it slowly and carefully. Okay, so this is the cause of suffering. The first 6 items. What kind of suffering? This suffering, right? Physical suffering. And when we have physical suffering, usually normal human being, we not just stop there. When we have physical suffering, usually we will have the second level of suffering, which is called mental suffering. All the time. What happens when you get hungry? When you get hungry, your mind get agitated. When your mind get agitated, you about to get angry. Happen to you many times maybe? When you are at the restaurant, super hungry, you place an order, but the food never show up. You keep on waiting, and all of a sudden you start yelling to the waiter, "Where is my food?" You see how hungry cause you suffering. It cause physical suffering. It also cause mental suffering if you're not mindful. We get to example. Okay, more example in a moment. All right. So this is the cause of suffering. So 6 of this, keep in mind. And this is the cause. I'm sorry. The first 6 item is the dukkha itself, the nature of this physical body. But the rest, okay, 7, 8, 9 is the cause. Okay, the cause of suffering. If we manage them well, it will help us to lessen physical suffering and mental suffering. And that affects the last one, which is the Dhamma that lead to the future life, which I will explain toward the end of this lecture. So now we have come this far. It takes less than 5 minutes to finish this reading. But it doesn't mean we understand fully of what the Buddha wants us to understand and put into practice. You see, this is the challenge of study sutra. So we need someone to study with us. We need someone that can guide us. Okay, let's continue. So here I put several things together, try to connect the dots for you, so it helps you to understand this sutra and put into practice much more effectively. Have you heard about there are the several kind of food, right? Each food has different category and has different quality, has different nutrition that affects human body. There's something called the cold food, something called the cool food, something called neutral food, something called warm food, and something called hot food. According to scientific nowadays, including the tradition medicine, especially Chinese medicines, this area of study give us quite insightful information about how food can affect our life. And each food not only they not just only give us nutrition, but they have each nutrition give different effect to the body. Okay, some food come with the nature of cold and coolness. Some foods come with the nature of heat and warmness. So in the winter time, you should know what to eat to keep the body warm. In the summer time like this, you should know what to eat in order to keep the body cool down from the heat. Something like that. Okay, so warm food help improving digestion and circulation. What kind of warm food? Warm food you think of what? Like this, the lead, the carrot, okay, the ginger, something you can feel when you drink it, like some kind of tea or ginger tea. You feel the heat of the body. You feel the heat of something that you drink right away, right? and like this ginger and pepper. What about whole food? Whole food, it helps to not only provide nutrition and strengthen to the body, but whole food help also to calm the body down when we are in the uh, hot environment. We need to select the drink that suitable for the temperature. You think of watermelon. Watermelon is considered a whole food. It gives you a whole nutrition, a whole aspect of the food, right? When you drink watermelons, it cool down the whole body system, and that's something most people, we don't study this. We just drink whatever we want to drink, right? Especially something sweet, and it causes the body suffering. Okay, so in this summertime, I want you to experience yourself what you eat, how those things that you eat affect your body, why you fall asleep, why you have overheat in your mouth, where you have a wound somewhere in your mouth here and there because the body is overheated. Then we somehow, maybe we need to drink more water, or maybe we have to change some nutrition according to the scientific research. What happens when we are hungry, right? Hungry is a physical thing. It's happening in the body, but at the same time, physical pain lead to the mental pain. And mental pain, if we're not mindful enough, it causes us suffering because it's derived from anger, derived from the tanha or craving something we don't like, right? When you get hungry and no food, you get angry. How can we calm the mind down? And we just eat whatever we want to eat. As a result, we get sick, okay? We get stomach ache, we get headache because something that we eat. Too much sugar is not good. See, what kind of drink that you have been drinking so far? Open the refrigerator at your home, at your house, you may notice that there are many things in that refrigerator with high sugar level. And that's something, we may know, but we pay no attention. We know it's bad for the health, the body, but we still eat it, we still drink it anyway, right? This is suffering come from defilement. It's the driving force for us to do something unwholesome, even though we know it. Something that happened to me many times, and I realized that every time I have running nose, I have a cold or fever, I stop drinking sugar. And when I stop drinking sugar, my symptom getting better just overnight. 1 or 2 days, my cold, my running nose disappear. I don't know why. Later on, I realized that, there are many research back up on that's what's happening to my body. So when I stop drinking sugar during my immune system is low, then I stop drinking sugar. So it helped to bring my immune system back to the good level where I can overcome, and heal my running nose and headache, stiffness, things like that. So I want you to pay attention to your physical body and select something that's good for yourself. According to the research, this is interesting. The effectiveness of white blood cell. White blood cell is the cell that it protects. It helps you to have a good immune system. It protects the disease, the germ that come into your body. Our immune cell with fight infection, this is called white blood cell. It decreased up to 50% after 1 or 2 hours of eating sugars, and it lasts up to 5 hours. Now I come to realize that, that is why I never get cured from my running nose, from my headache, because I continue drinking, soda and something sweet. So next time I'm not feeling well, I stop. And nowadays, up to this moment, I realize that I don't need sugar at all. So to maintain good health, we don't need sugar. We have enough sugar that come from the regular food. So if you are addicted to something sweet, I'd like you to reconsider. If you want to live long, if you want to lessen your physical suffering in the long run, think about what you eat. All right? Okay. Here we have talked about this, right? Again, this sutra today is not very long, but I try to expand to several dimensions to help you to understand the meaning of this particular sutra. So when you go back to study by yourself, you have some idea of how it works and how can I put everything I learned from this sutra into practice. Okay? These three things I'll explain in one place. It falls into the concept of sila or precept. Right? What is precept? Precept is something that help prevent us from doing bad things physically and verbally. Right? We learn that. That is considered precept. At the same time, as a Buddhist monk, precept is not just that. Let's study it one more time and to see if you can still remember the concept of precept. So I will explain this together. Restraint of the body, restraint of speech, and restraint of livelihood together. And for number 10, I will separate. I will explain separately at the end of the lecture. Okay, let's start number 7, 8, 9. What the Buddha means by restraint of the body, restraint of speech, and restraint of livelihood. So these fall into the concept of sila or precept. If we study this sutra alone, we may not understand it fully because the Buddha only mentioned 3 things: body, speech, and livelihood. But the concept of precept, there are more than this. So as a student, sutta study student, we need to understand, the real meaning of something that we read from each sutta that we study. Okay, so this is my job to help you to connect the dots to see if we can understand this much better. Okay, the purpose of sila. We hear the word sila or morality, or precept. Precept is not just 200, not just 5, not just 8, not just 10, not just 2 to 7. That's what most Buddhist people understand. Oh, precept, 5 precept. Oh, 8 precept. Oh, monk, 227 precept. Oh, bhikkhuni, 311 precept. Things like that. No, it's just one part. Precept, the idea of precept, incorporate these 5 dimensions. Please keep this in mind. Number 1 is for not harming oneself and harming others. That's the idea of precept. When someone observes precept, he set intention not to harm himself and not to harm others, physically, verbally. And second thing is for abandoning sensual pleasure. As a Buddhist monk, we stand opposite from the sensual pleasure world. Lay people, they seek happiness through the sense pleasure, entertain themselves through what they see, what they hear, what they smell, what they taste, what they touch. That's happiness in the eyes of the lay people. But in the eyes of Buddhist monk, we seek happiness inwardly. So we stand opposite from the sensual pleasure world. And that is why we observe precept. That is why we have many precepts than the lay people. 200 rules. And these rules help us to stay away from sense pleasure, to be mindful of something we consume, to be mindful of the place we should go, we should not go. There are many things that help us to be mindful and stay away, keep distance from the sense pleasure. Because the sense pleasure drives from tanha, and tanha is the root cause of suffering, right? When we learn the second of the Four Noble Truths. And number 3, the concept of precept is about for the appropriate of usage necessity. Everything that we use, there are rules involved. So when we talk about precept of the monk, it's involved with necessity, with the robes, with the food, something we eat, something we drink, with the medicine that we use, with the shelter or the place that we stay. This is another one area when we talk about precept. For the lay people, you can apply this as well. But for now, I'm going to focus on the monk side. And number 4 is for the unity of the Sangha. See, precept is for the unity of the Sangha. Because Buddhist monk, we're not alone. We live with many monks, brothers, people who ordain before us, people who ordain after us. And we support each other. Because when someone ordain, we don't have parents. Parents stay home. So we here support each other. When something happening to you, your monk's brother will take care of you. And there are rules involved. It's for the unity of Sangha. When the temple needs help, we go help. When the monk clean the temple, and it should be everyone's job to help go clean the temple, not just for one particular monk to clean the temple. Clean toilet, take care of the ceremony, the chantings, the activity for the lay people. These consider the activity that strengthen the unity in the Sangha, and it fall into one area of the idea of precept in the monastic community. And the 5th area, the last one, the precept is about unblemished of the Sangha. What is it? What is it? for the unblemished of the Sangha. There are many things that the monk not supposed to be doing, but it's not written in the Buddhist text. For example, in the Buddha time, there is no internet, right? There's no social media, no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing. So can monk use the Facebook? Can monk use social media to teach lay people, to talk to the people in the world? That's the question. So what would be your answer? What would be the standard way to make decision whether this thing is appropriate, this thing is not appropriate, this thing I should do, this thing I should not do, because it's not written in the Buddhist text, in the rules laid down by the Buddha himself. Not many things nowadays, okay, that we have in this 21st century. People don't have it back then. The car, can monks drive the car? Can monks use credit card? Things like that. So we have to think about this. If something would blemish the Sangha, then we should take into consideration. Be mindful, be very, very mindful, and try to avoid doing those things. We'll get to example in a moment. And there's another thing that Luang Pi add on in this particular lecture to help you to understand the concept of precept much deeper. There are something called the 4 types of moral purification, or the parisuddhi sila. Parisuddhi sila. That means there are four sila. Okay, according to the teaching of the Buddha. This is in Visuddhimagga. Visuddhimagga is the not the Buddhist text itself. Okay, in Theravada Buddhism, in Thailand, we not consider it's the Buddhist text itself. It's composed by Puttakosajan. Okay, it's not how in the Tipitaka. But anyway, this book is highly venerated in many Theravada Buddhist countries, like Myanmar, for example. So in Visuddhimagga, the Puttakosajan mentioned something called the 4 types of pure precept, or parisuddhi sin. Parisud means pure. Borisud, the parisuddhi sila means 4 types of pure precept. So what are they? Let's take a look. Number 1, restraint in accordance with the monastic disciplines. Basically, this is something called patimokha, right? 227. We're familiar with the word patimokha by now. That's number 1 precept of the Buddhist monk. Something we can do, something we cannot do, something we should do, something we should not do. And the second pure precept is called Insriya Sangvara Seen. Insri mean what? Insri mean sense door. Okay, you have to be able to control your sense door. Restraint of the sense, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, and what you think. This is the second precept. Make sure you keep them pure, both of them. And the third one, purity of livelihood, or Achiva Parisuddhi Sila. Achiva mean achieve. Achieve mean career or profession. So monks also have to keep our livelihood pure. Livelihood pure. What does it mean by keeping our livelihood pure? How can monk make a living? Our life rely on the support of the lay people 100%. Food that we wear, clothes that we eat, medicine that we take, shelter that we stay, come from the support of the lay people. Because monk, we don't make money as a lay people. Our life is, do our best to stay away from the material world. Use the minimum necessity to survive, and then spend time. Okay, spend most of our time every day to focus on the teaching of the Buddha, study the teaching, and practice meditation. We don't worry about making money. That's not our job or purpose of ordination. But somehow, we may fall into the trap of this, material world by acquiring this thing wrongly. Oh, I need the better quality of this clothes. I need a better food. Okay, much delicious food. I need a better shelter, a nice place to stay, a nice toilet, and nice air conditioning. I need the best medicine in the world, okay, computers, phone, whatever it is. So some monks get trapped on that realm of material. So this is called wrong livelihood. So if we become a tricky person, become a seductive person, take advantage of the lay people, that is called the wrong livelihood as a Buddhist monk. So we should be very mindful to keep our livelihood pure by acquiring, minimum, something that enough. Know the difference between need and want. Just have enough and keep life, super simple. then focus on study the Dhamma and practicing meditation, and that's why we become a monk. Okay, so try to do your best to minimum the desire in your mind. Have less desire. Just learn how to be content and appreciate what we receive. 2 meals a day enough. You have a place to stay, no pillow, no problem. I can go to bed, right? No air conditioning, no problem, because in the Buddha time they don't have, they didn't have air conditioning either, right? So we have clothes to wear. Someone take you to the hospital when you get sick. Everything is taken care of. Okay, stop complaining. Learn how to appreciate from what you have. I believe what we have right now in this particular training environment, this is perfect. I like to say perfect because what we have at the moment compared to what the training that I gone through myself 15 years ago, this is way much better. Okay, what you guys have at the moment, this is way much better. All right, and the last one, pure conduct as regard to necessity, is called Paccaya Sannisit Sin. This is necessity of the Buddhist monk. We need to make sure it's pure. Here, this picture. These are the 8 items that the Buddha allow someone to have when that person ordained or become a monk. 8 items. The bowl, the water filter, the outer robe, the needle, the razor blade, okay, and the ropes and the skirt with the belt. So all these 8 items, this is enough for monk to survive for the rest of his monk's life. Wherever you go, as long as you have bowl, then you can get food for the rest of your life. Okay, you have water filter, you can have clean water for the rest of your life. If something happened to your rope, you use the needle, and if you have razor, you can shave your head. See, life is simple. That's all we need. We don't own anything. We don't own the temple. We don't own the shelter. We can stay wherever we are allowed to stay. Move from temple to temple, stay in the forest, travel from one village to another village. To see how simple of the monk's life. But many people may complicate themselves. But the bottom line, the Buddha wants us to be, to feel content and to live life as simple as possible. Okay, and this is called pure conduct regarding to necessity of how to obtain them, of how to obtain all of them, and how to maintain and using them for a very long time. Okay, with mindful, with contentment, with appreciation, because everything here, okay, we receive from the donation from the lay people. The lay people donate them for us. And when we run out of any supply, again, okay, we can ask the lay people and they can help us with that. So purity of livelihood, again, is deal with necessity, right? Something we need to have. Okay, beside all of this, there's some food, robes, shelter, medicine. Minimum is always the best. Okay, keep life simple. Know where to find food, know where to find rope, know where to stay, know where to take medicine, how much should you eat, how much should you take, how much should you consume, when should you stop eating or should stop consuming. It's about mindfulness. Okay, make sure we keep our livelihood pure. Don't be a tricky person, don't be a demanding person, don't be a choosy person. Just stay content, appreciate what you receive. You want something hot, you may get something cold. You want something cold, you may get something hot. And that's the nature of life. We should not complain about anything at all from whatever people offering us. When you go arms out tomorrow in the morning, go to the village. You may not get the food that you expect. What do? You cannot do anything. Your job is to be mindful, appreciate, and give people the blessing, and show them your appreciation by remain silent and reflect on the food that you receive. You eat, go back with that energy. Continue training yourself to be a good monk, and that's what you should do. All right. And another thing I'd like to mention here is about fame. You guys are new. You just ordained. I'm not worried about this. But as you ordain longer, okay, then you get to know more and more people, have more activities. You have access to technology, social media. Then you become famous later on. And some monks will fall into that realm of being famous, of seeking for fame, become more and more famous. And that's something dangerous that the Buddha, give us a warning. Don't fall into that realms, okay, of getting famous and being fame. It's not beneficial. Okay, as a monk, we should stay low, get back to our training, and focus on mental purification. And that's what you should do. All right. Okay, and almost done. Number 10. Number 10. like I said, it's different. The Buddha talk about Dhamma that leads to future life. So in this book, okay, on page 246, okay, this one, on page 246. So I'd like you to go back and study. I have the section of the Karma section. So go through all of them, okay? Not many of them, less than 10. So go through all of them to understand the concept of Karma in Buddhism. But in this particular teaching, okay, I will focus only one sutra that comes from this book. Okay, it's called Nithana Sutra from Anguttara Nikaya 3.34. Okay, on page 246 from this book that Luang Pi offered to everyone already. In this particular teaching, the Buddha mentioned that any karma that is fashioned through greed, hatred, and delusion, born of delusion, caused by delusion, originate by delusion, ripens wherever the individual is reborn. Wherever that karma ripens, it is there that one experience its result of vipaka, or the fruit of that karma, that action, either in this very life or in the next rebirth or next life, or in some subsequent occasion in the future after we die. So what caused the karma? In this case, you need to realize that one of the core teaching of the Buddha, besides dukkha and what caused dukkha and how to remove dukkha, we need to understand the concept of one of the law of nature, which is called the law of karma, which is quite huge topic when it comes to the teaching of the Buddha. It is huge, it is complicated. We may not be able to fully understand intellectually. We can keep on reading text, but it doesn't mean that we understand the law of karma, how it works. To keep it simple, number 10, the Buddha talk about, okay, he give us the warning that whatever we do, it cause Dhamma. In this case, refer to the word karma. Dhamma is karma. The karma that we do will lead to the future life. It take effect. We don't know when it's going to happen, but whatever we do, okay, good, bad, it will be saved somewhere in our mind, and it will take effect in the future, whether in this lifetime or in the future lifetime. And that's something, okay, it's the nature of the law of karma. So in this case, what caused the karma? The karma is fashioned through what? To the root cause of suffering or ignorance or defilement is greed, hatred, and delusion. These are the three major defilement. Okay? So we have not talked about this in detail yet, right? We talk about the nature of the mind, we talk about the 5 hindrances, but we have not talked in detail about the concept of defilement or kilesa in human mind yet. But again, you guys just ordained and you are new to the teaching. Now it's time for you to open up your eyes and getting to hear the term from the Buddhist text, okay? And keep your heart or your eyes open for the new information, for the new knowledge. Get your curiosity in the high level and keep on learning. Okay, so here to keep it short, no matter what, okay, after one die, one have to reborn according to the teaching of the Buddha, according to the law of karma. The Buddha did not create this law, okay? Don't get confused. The Buddha did not create anything basically. What he teach is something he discovered. It already exists whether the Buddha exists or not. The law of nature exists. Okay, life is impermanent, life is suffering, life is uncontrollable, anicca dukkha anatta, or even the law of karma. Life after death exists. We born here. This is not the first lifetime that we born, and it's definitely not the last lifetime either. So, but again, you may feel like, well, it's unprovable. Okay, I don't believe it. It's okay. You are not here to believe or not to believe. You are here to learn and take information to your consideration and think about it. There are many things that we don't know, and we don't know that we don't know, and that is why we should learn. Then we can know something that we don't know. Right? So here is another big topic. But in this Sariratthadhamm Sutra, the Buddha talk about 10 things, right? Cold, heat, hunger, thirst, excreting, urinating, restraint of the body, restraint of speech, restraint of the livelihood, and the will to live that lead to the future life. He talk about this thing at last. at last, because no matter what, okay, we have to wake up, we have to get hungry, get thirsty, we have to go find food, we have to put clothes on, we have to buy a new food, we have to buy a new clothes all the time, and that everything we do is called karma, is called action. And if we do the karma, okay, in the wrong action, and that cause negative karma, and it gives us suffering in life, in daily life, in the future life. So here, keep this in mind. Pure element lead to a long-lasting happy life. Pure element, what are the element again? Earth, water, wind, fire, right? Heat, cold, thirst, hungry. If they are pure, it leads to a long-lasting and happy life. But if they are impure, it leads to a short-lived and destruction in life. So observe what you eat. Observe how you live your life. Observe how your body generates discomfort or unhappiness into your life of what you eat, what you wear, what you stay, okay, what medicine that you take. Because suffering comes from this physical body. It's not fall off from the sky. It's come from here. If you understand nature of your physical body, then you can find way to lessen suffering out of this physical body and out of your mind as well. To summarize what we learned, the Buddha suggests us to have restraint in livelihood, because no matter what, we're going to have to go find food, go find clothes, go find place to stay, go to the toilet every single day that we still alive. It's the routine thing that stay in the body, and dukkha and the cause of dukkha also come from this physical life as well. So the element, if they are pure, your life, your physical health will be healthy, your mental health will be healthy as well, and your habits will be wholesome habit, good habit, and that lead you to have a better life, a happy life. But if you not restrained in livelihood, you're not mindful in making a living, you're not mindful in inputting the element into your life, which is impure, drinking alcohol, drug, not mindful of what you eat, it lead to unhealthy physical body, also unhealthy your mental health as well. It affect your body, it affect your mental as well, and then it become a habit of addicted to alcohol, addicted to drug, addicted to gambling, addicted to gaming, whatever it is, it become a habit, and then it lead to an unhappy life, according to this particular sutra. So how can we put everything into practice? Number one, restraint in using necessity, because this is something we use every day. We have to wear clothes, we have to eat, we have to go toilet, we have to do laundry, right? Something we use every day, then we have to be very, very mindful of the necessity. How do we find them? How do we find food? How much should we eat? Do you have food left over for today's lunch? Do you eat everything from what you take from the food line? That's something you should reflect on that. Restraint in eating. Know what to eat, know when to eat, know how to eat, know when to stop eating. And restraint in the body, speech, and mind, and restraint in livelihood, right? So all of this, they are precept. We're talking about the 5 concepts of precept already, and we also talk about the 4 parisuddhi sila, or the 4 purification of precept. So all of this, they are fall into the precept level, but they drive by something called sati and sampachanya. You see, sati and sampachanya have to be always there. If you have sati, you know what to eat, you know when to eat, you know how much should you eat, right? If you also have sampachanya can telling you when to stop eating. So this food affect what kind of body? When you eat this food, how it can affect your body, and that's something sampachanya and sati help each other to help you to live good life, to help you to lessen suffering into your life, not only in this very present moment, but in the long term. Okay, so precept support by sati and sampachanya, and that's something that monks should be cultivate and practice. Both monk and the lay people who want to live good life. Again, come back to the last picture that I mentioned earlier. The final goal of everything we learn, every sutra that we learn, every teaching of the Dhamma that we practice, or we are about to practicing, it should help us to answer this question, to help us to arrive at the final destination of this spiritual journey, which is to realize Nibbana. How can one realize Nibbana? That person needs to remove lust, hatred, and delusion from his mind. Through what? Through the meditation practice. Of course, you need precept, right? And then you meditate. And then it takes you to the higher wisdom to remove impurity into your mind. Remove these three things into your mind. It's called asavakkhaya yan, something that we talked about last time. The knowledge, the higher knowledge that help us to be able to, that help us to remove the mental impurity, greed, hatred, and delusion from our mind. And when someone have arrived that level, that person is called arahant. His mind is pure, his mind is clear and clean from defilement. Okay? So with that, we are done today with the sutra that called Sariratthadhamm Sutra. This sutra is not very long. It's from Anguttara Nikaya 10.49. So please go back and relearn it. Okay. This video also is recorded. So when it's done, it will be uploaded to YouTube. So you can go back and relearn later. Don't worry about something that you missed during the lecture, and you can always go back and relearn. Okay. So again, these 10 things exist in the body and they cause us suffering. So it's our job to understand the nature of our own physical body and the nature of our mind, how the body works, how the mind works. Because suffering, or the root cause and the root cause of suffering, they not come from the sky. They not fall off from the sky to this physical life. They originated in this physical body. So it's our job to understand that and to put everything we learn into practice. Then we can live life happier. Whoever we are, whether you are Buddhist monk or lay people, you need to understand the teaching of the Buddha and put everything you learn into action. Hope everyone's following Luang Pi so far. If anything, you have questions, feel free to ask. So let's pay respect to the triple gem, then we take a break.